halfway into this worldwide transmission against tyranny. And we have Reverend James Manning of otla.org joining us, Pastor James David Manning. Again, otla.org, atlah.org. Our websites are infowars.com and prisonplanet.com. In the next segment, we're going to open the phones up to Pat, Julio, Isaac, Tracy, Mark, and others to talk to the pastor. Look, when you talk about revolution, they know they're forcing the people into physical confrontation, so they built up Northcom Homeland Security to get everybody used to giving up their rights to fight foreign, supposed made-up boogeymen terrorists. But really, we have the Homeland Security MIAC reports. It's all designed for the American people, libertarians, conservatives, people that want to end the Fed, the birthers. You know, I mean, it's all in there. People with a get us out of the UN sticker. It's clearly un-American. It's clearly a secret police. But I think they want violent confrontation. That's why they provocateur it. But I do think we need a revolution of boycotts, of protest, of educating people, of saying no, of taking over the state governments through the legislative process. That's starting to happen, to block the federal government's unconstitutional activities, the federal government itself taken over by international aims. I mean, there's a lot of things we can do. I think the Tea Parties are effective, but they have been co-opted by Glenn Beck and others. And just his past attacks on Ron Paul and others, I mean, he's definitely he's Benedict Arnold. I mean, I have to call him out because he's so dangerous.
Oh, he's very dangerous, there's no doubt about it.
So continue with your problem with the Tea Party leadership and what type of revolution you're talking about.
Well, going to the Tea Party, the revolution aspect of the question first, I think that I've called for boycotts for the last year, and we've been somewhat effective. I mean, I've called for the Great Nine boycott of several major fast food places, all the auto industries, all three of them, Pepsi and Coca-Cola, simply to send a message to corporate America that we're out here, we've got power, we can write your checks, or we can cancel them. I've also called for a one-day work stoppage, which we've not yet instituted. We've not made it effective as of yet. But to have America stop working for one day. Now, the Tea Party people, Dick Armey, I think, floated that idea a couple of months ago, and I called him out on it because I had called for it going back 4 or 5 months ago, that America should shut down for one day completely to let the powers that be know that we're here and we're not going to be marginalized, we're not going to be constitutionally castrated, we're not going to have that happen. And if they don't respond in the one-day work stoppage, then we'll go for a full-week work stoppage. But, of course, you know, Alex, once you do a one-day work stoppage, those that are involved in the process will most probably be either arrested and if you go for a one-week work stoppage, the Obama machine will call out the military to try to put down that one-day work stoppage. It will not happen in a vacuum. It will not happen in a peaceful way. And I'm not one that advocates shedding blood. That's not something that I want people to think of me first of. But however, that's beginning to float around, and I would like to repeal that as much as possible. But, Alex, I'm convinced that one of the more powerful ways of boycotting this structure, this new corporate Supreme Court law that gives corporations the opportunity to buy candidates, to buy elections, that's exactly what happened last week. And you got to stop the corporations through the power of a one-week work stoppage. It will turn violent should that happen.
Well, what they did is they said, oh, you can't have a Hillary film, which is clearly unconstitutional. So they expanded it using a ruling that was good to just say unlimited giving, foreign companies, foreign corporations can come in and take over even further. But there's still the restrictions on what individuals can give.
Absolutely.
So it's actually unfair for the corporations. Stay there. Let's talk more about that on the other side. But again, that's the system panicking, pulling out all the stops to try to pile on more money to shut us down, to shut us up. But the people are only going to wake up that much faster because things are falling apart. They can't paper over that. Stay with us. The Supreme Court removed limits on corporate labor donations to campaigns, but the way I read this ruling, they did not remove the $3,000 limit on citizens. So we, as human beings, don't give more because that's what really threatens them. But offshore corporations, I mean, that's treason right there. And many people have written editorial articles saying that is treason by the Supreme Court. But I remember criticizing them, saying they couldn't have a Hillary film that was funded by a corporation. That's one thing. But to say unlimited, offshore, campaign, openly, I tell you, it's amazing. It's amazing, Reverend Manning.
Well, essentially what that ruling says, Alex, is that only corporations will be able to vote. Corporations and their surrogates. That if you belong to a corporation and you are part of the shareholders of that corporation, then you can vote. Or if you are an individual citizen, such as you and myself and many others, your vote will not count. Your vote will be dependent upon how much money you can donate. And, of course, you'll be limited in what you can donate. Therefore, you'll be limited in who and how powerful your votes will become. That's exactly what that does and says. We're being castrated.
Where do you see this going?
I see this. I believe that the Obama administration, the world government powers that exist and that have existed, believe that global power is more possible now than ever, that they can unify this planet, if you will. They can make it a prison planet, if you must, and that there's really no one or nothing that can stop them right now. They don't see anything out there that can stop them. The only thing that they're trying to avoid right now, I do believe that martial law would be a great way in which, if there was an uprising or revolt or revolution that was not well planned, it would give martial law and the power, and Obama the power to rule from his throne without any question. However, what they are trying to avoid, and the reason why they're moving at breakneck speed, they could move more conclusively. They're just trying to avoid people coming out with the 250 million guns that are in homes of America to overthrow this movement. But they believe right now they're in control, and there's absolutely nothing that can be done, nothing that can stop this global takeover and the amassing of global power into the hands of just a few people.
They really do think America and the world is done, and this is a scientific dictatorship. It's really happening. But if they don't think the public will go along with it, they will slow down. And the good news is their health care is in trouble. Their Copenhagen is in trouble. It's coming out, all the UN fraud, stuff that dwarfs ClimateGate on a daily basis now. Their flu hoax fell apart. And I think that's happening not just because the public's awake and angry and active, Reverend Manning, but because police, military, bureaucrats, people who are in there seeing this, they're quietly not going along with it. They're leaking information. They're saying no. And, I mean, I think we're in very, very dark times, but at the same time...
Well, I think what you just... I'm very much aware of what you stated, how clear that is, that people within the military, within the police, within the structure of the government recognize what is happening. They have not been made a part of it. They will not be made a part of it. And for those reasons, a part of the process could be slowing down. I had one time thought that perhaps they may have lost interest in using Obama as a front man. The Copenhagen failure caused me to think a little bit, and I didn't have any conclusive evidence, that perhaps they thought that they would slow down on him and perhaps pick another person to be the leader of this group. But the other thing is that, I'm not sure that the American people understand. Well, what I would say is that perhaps what you're discussing right now we probably ought not to discuss, because there are a large number of people within the military who've been made aware of all of the conspiracies that are happening and this global takeover, and we might be putting them at jeopardy at some point.
Well, that's just it. But that's just it. If you expose the program, which we've done with the alternative media, which is why they want to shut down and curtail the web and free speech, if you expose them and we're telling the truth, even if people don't wake up now, as it unfolds, they will wake up, because it's almost like prophecy. We have their game plan, and you lay it out beforehand, and then it happens as we say, that really gets people's attention. And I think that's what myself and many others and you over the decades, getting the truth out is devastating to them, because I say it every day because it's so true. Lies have to be reapplied constantly. Constantly have to be reapplied over and over again. But the truth just burns through the lies. And so we've only got to wake somebody up. We've only got to show them how they've been lied to, and then they've opened their eyes to the larger fraud.
Well, where we are standing, if you look at what's happening in Europe and how Europe is being co-opted, and how they've lost all their sense of democracy and freedom of speech, and the last bastion, of course, was here in America.